Okay, good morning everybody. So, we spoke about Sefer in the last two shiurim we spoke about was the wars which take place in Sefer Bereshit. The first one being the story of Abraham, the 4 kings and the 5 kings. The second one we spoke about 2 weeks ago was Shimon and Levi, and now we're going to Sefer Shmot. The Sefer Shmot, the war which is mentioned there is Amalek. Okay, the story of the war of Amalek. And in order to introduce Amalek, let's start off with statements which is a summary of halachot which are brought in the Rambam. The Rambam says the following. Line number 5. Shalosh mitzvot nitztavu Yisrael b'knisatan לארץ ישראל. למנות להם מלך, שנאמר שום תשים עליך מלך, there's a mitzvah of מלך, להחריד זרעו של עמלק, and to cut off the seed to wipe out עמלק, שנאמר תמחה את זכר עמלק, ולבנות בית הבחירה, שנאמר לשכנות תדרשו ובת השמה. That is the order when Am Yisrael have to go into Eretz Yisrael. And that's what in actual fact takes place. First of all, HaKadosh Baruch Hu appoints Shaul as king. His next mitzvah is to wipe out Amalek. And eventually, because Shaul doesn't do what he's commanded to 100%, HaKadosh Baruch Hu transfers the Melucha, the kingship, to David HaMelech. And David HaMelech is not allowed to build the Beis HaMikdash. It's written in Sefer Divrei Yomim, Dam Larov Shafachta, you've spilt too much blood, which is the attitude of the Torah towards war, and therefore David HaMelech wasn't allowed to build the Beis HaMikdash, and his son Shlomo builds the Beis HaMikdash. So that is the order which we've got here. Now, who was Amalek? Who was Amalek? What is he? What is this nation? Now, we're now going to be koifrim. We're not going to follow in the initial stages of what we taught when we were in kindergarten. Okay? Because we have to look in the Tanakh not in a microscopic way, but in a telescopic way. Try to take the Tanakh as one unit. Now, where's Amalek mentioned the first time in the Tanakh? Bereshit. But where? Now, the first time Amalek is mentioned, it's not in front of you because I wanted to test you guys. Okay? It's okay, right. So let's start off where Amalek is first mentioned. Amalek is first mentioned in a place where we wouldn't expect it. And there it's written the following. It's written in Perek Yud Pasuk Zayin, which speaks about the war of the 4 kings and the 5 kings. And there it's written, after the battle, Vayashuv vayavo el ein mishpat hu kadesh, Vayaku, and they smote et kol sdei ha'amaleki, all the territory of the Amalek. That means even before Esau was born, there was already Amalek in the world. Okay? It's called Vayaku et kol hasdei Amaleki v'gam et ha'emori ayoshev b'chatzotzon Tamar. So therefore the Torah here speaks about Amalek not as mishpocha of ours, the son of Esau, the grandson of Esau, but who does he speak about? A nation. A nation which existed. Now, let's go next stage. The next stage is not Amalek as a nation, as the grandson of Esau, which we'll see in a minute, but it's written in Sefer Bamidbar, also the same thing, a similar idea. In Perek Yud Gimel, the spies come back and they say the following. Perek Yud Gimel Pasuk Chavtet. Amalek Yoshev be'eretz hanegev. Amalek lives in the southern part of Israel. That's where they live. And again, when Am Yisrael wants to go and attack the Ma'apilim, they decide to go and don't listen to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they all go later on and they try to, attack Eretz Yisrael, capture Eretz Yisrael. It's written, Va'amaleki va'aknani yoshev ba'emek. Machar pnu usu lachem hamidbara. Don't start going and wandering around Eretz Yisrael, because you're going to meet up Amalek. So from here we learn that Amalek is a nation. It's a nation with specific territory. In actual fact, it's brought in Sefer Shoftim many times, how Amalek joins in with the other nations around to attack Eretz Yisrael. In Sefer Divrei Hayomim, it's brought that Shimon was supposed to take over the area which belongs to Amalek. So where do we get this spiritual insight of Amalek? Where were we taught when we're in Kita Aleph, or in grade 1, grade 2, kindergarten, what we learn about Amalek? Now we know it's written that Amalek was the grandson of Esau. Okay, it's written in Parshat Bereshit, the end of Parshat Vayishlach, in Perek, and we read about it 3 weeks ago. It's in the part of Vayishlach, which is the whole list of the children of Esau. There it's written, V'timna et apilegesh le'Elifaz ben Esav, v'teled le'Elifaz et Amalek. So Amalek also had the same name. He received the same name as what? As this nation which existed. Okay? So therefore, we have a sort of two-tier system which exists in the world of Amalek. Now, we all know, and in front of you we're going to learn the whole story of Amalek attacking Am Yisrael. But who were they? Was this the nation which in actual fact the grandson of Esau decides to attack, or where they were Bedouins going around from place to place? So who gave us this spiritual insight into Amalek? Where do we know it from? Now we know later on we're going to learn the psukim about Timcha et Zecher Amalek, etc., etc. But there's one person who gives us this insight, and that is Bilam. Bilam, in his prophecy, in his brachot, he says the following. He says, Vayar et Amalek. Bilam sees Amalek. I'll give you the pasuk. Bamidbar Perek Chaf Daled, pasuk Chaf. Vayar es Amalek. He sees the land of Amalek. Now, picture to yourselves the mountains of Jordan. Am Yisrael is sitting in Moab, the other side of the Jordan, the mountains. And the mountains of Amalek, Bilam is standing there, and he's giving his brochas, klalot, his curses, his blessings, and he sees the plain of Amalek. Vayar es Amalek. He sees the plain of Amalek. Now, is this a visual seeing? Is it a spiritual seeing? What is it? Can be both. But he sees Amalek. Vayar et Amalek. And now, why should we say, in actual fact, it's a physical seeing? Because the pasuk before that speaks about him seeing Edom. And the pasuk afterwards says he sees the Kini. So he does see the nations who are living around there. But it's a vision, it's a seeing which creates this vision of who Amalek is. And he says the following, Vayar et Amalek vayisam meshalo vayomar, and he lifts up and he says, translation here, he looked at Amalek, he sees his oracle, he sees this vision, and he says, Reishis goyim Amalek. Amalek is amongst the first nations. Okay? The first group who attacked Am Yisrael. V'acharito, but its end will be Adei Oved, will be destroyed. Amalek, Bilam sees Amalek as Reshit Goyim. Reshit Goyim Amalek. He's the first nation who attacked Am Yisrael. So here, Bilam sees Amalek as the first one who goes out to attack Am Yisrael as a nation. Alright? They've gone out of Egypt, and he sees Amalek as the nation. Now, whether they are the grandchildren of Esau, whether they are a nation who actually wants to conquer and break down Am Yisrael, we're going to see in a minute. But Bilam gives a new insight from the outside. Okay? It's not Moshe Rabbeinu speaking. Now, let's try to understand what's going on in this world of Bilam. What is it? Now, the only parsha where Moshe Rabbeinu is not involved is not somebody who's seeing what's taking place, is the story of Bilam and Balak. Moshe Rabbeinu is not a spectator there. So how does Moshe Rabbeinu get to know about this whole story of Bilam and Balak? That's the question which the Maharal asks. The Gemara in Masechet Baba Basra in Daf Yud Daled Amud Beis actually says that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote Sefer Bilam. Okay, it's a Gemara. Don't believe me, I'll read it out to you. No, you mustn't. Don't believe rabbis ever. It's done.
As long as they don't ask.
Pardon?
I said as long as they don't ask for money.
Okay. You're the businessman, no, I'm not. Okay? Moshe Rabbeinu Kotav Sifro Upashas Bilam. Moshe Rabbeinu writes the Torah and Sefer Bilam. Now the whole of Sefer Bereshis, Kodesh Baruch Hu tells him the story. Once Moshe Rabbeinu is born and he becomes the prophet, he actually sees everything which takes place. Except one. Balak and Bilam. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling him a story which takes place in another area of the world. Moshe Rabbeinu receives the whole story of Balak and Bilam through the media of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu testifies to Moshe Rabbeinu, in inverted commas, this is what takes place. And this is what I told Bilam to say. Reshis Goyim Amalek. He's the first one. And he's going to be the end. He's going to be an entity. We don't know what is the ID card of Amalek. But this is the prophecy. Now what? Yeah.
It says Reshit Goyim Amalek. Is that necessarily bad? The words themselves don't imply.
Yeah, but the next one do. Acharito Adei Oved. He's going to go all the way down. Now, to understand this concept, we've got to look into the story of Amalek. Okay? That's what Bilam says. And if you look at it, it's talking about Darach Kochav Miyakov, V'kam Shevet B'Yisrael. It's the last bracha of Bilam. And Adom Yeresha. And then it goes about the Kini. And it goes about, etc., etc. All the nations who are going to have interactions with Am Yisrael. And Bilam says, out of all of them, the one who's going to go down to Gehinnom, Acharito Adei Oved, is Amalek. That's his prophecy. And that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in to an outsider. It's not a prophecy to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a prophecy, in inverted commas, to Muhammad. Think to yourselves, that's what's going on. He's giving a prophecy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Bilam what's going to be the history of Amalek. He's the first and the last. Reshit v'acharis. Ani rishon v'ani acharon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. Who's the first one who fights against me? Amalek. And I'm going to be there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, to see the downfall, v'acharito. This he tells to Bilam. And Bilam now is going to tell Moshe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu now is going to tell Moshe Rabbeinu, this is what took place. You understand? That's the depths. Right. Now, once we've taken it into the historical concept and the meta-historical concept of what's going on, now we've got to go back to the Parsha. And who is Amalek? Right. It's going to take us about 2.5 shiurim this. Okay, no, we're going to, because everybody likes to use Amalek. Okay, it comes to Purim, it comes to this. But we've got to go back to the actual sources and learn Torah as, first of all, Torah. Amalek is the name of a place. Okay, we see that. We know that what? Amalek is a grandson of a certain genealogy, but Amalek exists before the grandson comes into the world. Right. Any questions until now? Please, don't be shy to ask. Okay, because these are the foundations. Now, let's go one stage further. The story of Amalek, which the Rambam says we've got a mitzvah, becomes the foundation of something very, very important. And let's start off in the Rambam itself, which is a summary of Gemaras here. Line number 10. Ein Amalek nilcham tchila. Line number 10. I don't know, 1 minute, but you've got different lines here. Hold on a minute. Let me use
The right ones.
the right ones. 1 minute. No, because I've got the small print. I want to test my eyes. Alright. Ein Amalek nilcham tchila. Ela milchemes mitzvah. Yeah, I'll give it back to you, don't worry. It's on my computer. Ein Amalek nilcham tchila ela milchemes mitzvah. There is a concept of milchemes mitzvah. That means the job of a melech, first of all, is to do the milchamot which are a mitzvat aseh. What are the milchamot which are a mitzvat aseh? A mitzvah. Eizo hi milchemet mitzvah. Zu milchemet shiva amamim. This is the war of fighting against the 7 nations who are living in Eretz Yisrael. When they come into Eretz Yisrael, that is a milchemes mitzvah. The next one is milchemet mitzvah, milchemet Amalek. Right? The third one is Ezrat Yisrael miyad shebar alehem, or a battle which you need to do because the goyim have attacked Eretz Yisrael. What happened now? Okay. Any other milchama to widen what's it called? To widen the area of Eretz Yisrael. That is not a mitzvah. That's a milchemet reshut. But milchemet mitzvah is Shiva Amamim, the 7 nations which owned Eretz Yisrael at the beginning, and then you have Amalek, and then you have Ezrat Yisrael Miyatzah. So Shiva Amamim is written in the Torah. It's written in the Torah, Parshat Shoftim. Milchemes Amalek is written in the Torah. Ezra Yisrael Miyatzar is not written in the Torah anywhere. Okay, correct, it's logical. Why? Because if somebody fights against you, you've got to get up and defend yourself. Haba le'orgacha, ashkem le'orga. Anybody who gets up to fight against you, but it's not written in the Torah, so we've got to find out where the source of all this is. But let's go one stage further. Why is there a milchemet Amalek? Line number 15. V'chein mitzvat aseh le'abed zecher Amalek, shneimar timchet zecher Amalek. ומצוות עשה, line number 16, לזכור תמיד מעשיו הרעים, ועריבתו, to remember his bad deeds and the way he attacked us, כדי לעורר איבתו, and that's why you've got a mitzvah of זכירת מחיית Amalek. You've got a battle, and you've got Zechira, which we do on Parashat Zachor every single year. And the first one, okay, the first one who was commanded to do it was Shaul. Let's look and see what's written in the Torah. In the Navi. Vayomesh Shmuel El Shaul. Shmuel says to Shaul, Oti shalach Hashem lemoshchecha lemelech al amo. I've sent you to anoint you. I sent you. Oti. Shmuel says to Shaul, HaKadosh Baruch Hu appointed me to anoint you as a king al amo v'al Yisrael. Va'ata shma lekol divrei Hashem. Listen to the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ko amar Hashem tzvakot. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. Pakadati, I now remembered, et asher asa Amalek l'Yisrael, asher sam lo baderech ba'aloto mitzrayim. Now's the time to pay back, to do a payback. You now own Eretz Yisrael. You now are the king. Now you've got to do the payback. And what's the payback? Fight against Amalek. The time has come. The time has come, Shmuel says to Shaul, to do the payback. Now, Shaul, unfortunately, doesn't do the whole job. That's his problem. But
Why didn't he?
Pardon?
Why did he not?
It's a different problem. That's not Amalek. That's Shaul.
He's not talking.
We spoke about Shaul about 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. My memory only goes back 4 years. Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you the shir. Okay. So Shaul doesn't do it, unfortunately. According to that, Kodesh Baruch Hu anoints David. But there's two questions here. The question is, if it is a mitzvah to wipe out Amalek, why do we need the prophecy of Shmuel to tell him? What do we learn right at the beginning? Shalosh mitzvot nitztavo Yisrael b'shah knisatam la'aretz. Limnot la'hem melech, to appoint a king. And after that, lachrit zarosh al Amalek. So why doesn't Shaul get up and do the job? Why do we need Shmuel to come and say to him, Ko amar Hashem tzvakot, pakadati et asher asa Amalek. The time has come to do the payback.
He appointed him. Shmuel appointed him.
So why do we need another prophecy? Why does Shmuel need to remind Shaul to do the job?
He's telling him, he's reminding him of what's
Why?
down in the first place.
Now, says the Briskerov. Says the Briskerov. Says a brilliant insight. To get up and kill somebody, a whole nation, without them beginning. And what does he say to him? Shmuel says to him, listen, Shaul, whatever you've got to do, you've got to kill men, women, children. You've got to wipe out all the animals. You've got to wipe out Amalek from the face of this earth. To do that, and without them starting. Amalek here doesn't do what the Hamasnikim did. Amalek is sitting quietly in their valley. Why should you do it? Says the Briskerov, that's what we need a Novi for. Without that, has Shaul got the guts? Is the nation ready to do such a thing? For that, you need a prophet. For that, you need a prophet. Pardon? Or good intelligence. Okay? But that, says the Briskerov, is why Shmuel needs to tell Shaul, now has the time come. I'm giving you a prophecy. And this becomes a mitzvah. Because to just wipe out Amalek for the sake of wiping it out, do the people, Am Yisrael, have got midot of Rachmanim by Shamim, and Shaul was. Shaul was the example of an Anav. Shaul was an example of somebody who was not the type of person to go and do such a thing. Now, think to yourself what Shmuel does. At the end of the story of Shmuel, where Shaul doesn't kill Agag, what does Shmuel go and do? He gets a sword And what does he do? He kills Agag. Cold-blooded murder. Cold-blooded. Not in a time of war. He's a prisoner of war. Shmuel is teaching Shaul that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells me a prophecy, I've got to do it. As much as it didn't fit into the paradigm of what? Of the personality of Shmuel. It just doesn't fit in. That Shmuel would do a cold-blooded murder like that? No. Doesn't fit into the personality. Doesn't fit into the majority of people who are sitting here. Okay? That is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Shaul, because he knows how hard this is going to be. Right. So who is this Amalek then? And here Rav Soloveitchik gives this unbelievable insight. Because of the seeming contradictions, who Amalek is. Is he a nation? Is he Mishpocha? Is he a grandson of Esau? Who is he? And Rav Soloveitchik says in his famous drosha speech of Kol Dodi Dofek, he says the following: Ba'achat ha'asefot shel HaMizrachi, in one of the meetings of the Mizrahi movement, Amarti b'shem Abba Mari, ki parshat milchemet Lashem ba'Amalek midor ledor, eina mugbelet b'chaluta ha'tziburit, kemilchemet mitzvah legeza mesuyam. It's not about a certain race. It's not a nation. Amalek is not a nation. Then what is it? Ela kolelet chovat hitkomemut neged kol uma o kvutza hachadura shigaon shel sin'a v'amchuvenet et mastemata klape Knesset Yisrael. It is a nation who've got this enmity, this hatred for the Jewish people in the world.
Is it a nation?
No, it can be anybody. It is a concept. Amalek, says Rabbi Yoshe Ber, is a concept.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concept which exists in anti-Semitism for hatred for the Jewish people, which has got no specific reason. Hatred for the sake of hatred. And as Rabbi Sachs used to say, it could be hatred because of the religion, it could be hatred because of the country, it could be hatred because of who we are. It could be multiple concepts.
They're rich all the time.
Pardon?
They're
And it changes. It changes.
Culture,
Every few 200 years, it changes. Yeah, it's a virus, yeah. Momini, let me just finish off. כשאומה חותרת על דגלה, לכו ונכחידם מגוי. And we're going to see that in a minute. לכו, let's go and wipe them out. ולא ייזכר שם ישראל עוד, היא הופכת עמלק. Becomes Amalek. Now where's this pasuk? לכו ונכחידם אל גוי. It's a perek in Perek Pei Gimel in Sefer Tehillim. Let's read it out. Tehillim Perek Pei Gimel, a very famous one. Okay, Shir Mizmor LaAsaf. Alam Chayarim Usod, against your nation they have raised their heads. V'yityatzu al tzfunecha. Amru. L'chu v'nachidem migoy. Let's go and wipe them out. V'lo yizachem Shem Yisrael od. Who are these nations? Edom, Yishmaelim, Moab, Va'agrim, Gval, Va'amon, Upleshet, Va'amolek, Pleshet im Yoshvei Tzur. A whole group of nations, guys. A whole group of them. David Amalek counts them. Perek 83. Perek Pei Gimel. Okay, this Perek was in actual fact said by Menachem Begin Zichrono Livracha when the Yom Kippur War broke out. There was a whole meeting in the Knesset, and Begin got up and he put on his kippah and recited this Perek. Yeah, I remember it. I remember it. I was born then. Okay? It was something amazing. He shook the Knesset. He read it out every word slowly, and he said, let's go through all the nations who have attacked us throughout history. Says Rav Soloveitchik, Bishnot HaShloshim, and this was said in 1953, This drosha was said in 1956. Bishnot HaShloshim, in line number 33. Bishnot HaShloshim v'Arba'im, in the 30s and the 40s, milu tafkid ze ha'Natzim, v'Hitler b'rosham. הם היו המלאקים, נציגי שיגעון האיבה של התקופה האחרונה. They were the representative of this absolute hatred of the Jewish people. כיום, ממלאים את מקומם, המוני נאצר והמופתי. In 1956, 57, it was Nasser, and the Mufti. Okay, you go through history, hasn't stopped. Amalek, according to Rabbi Yoshe, is a concept. It is not specifically a nation. That's what it represents. Yeah, now questions.
The Amalek represent the concept of disregarding the existence of Hashem?
Pardon? Now we'll get to it. 1 minute. Let's just. What is Amalek? It's a fight against the multiple dimensions of the Jewish people. The multiple dimensions of the Jewish people. Religion, race, culture, land, language. I'll go over it again. Religion, race, culture, land and language. Those are the 5 dimensions of a people. Who are we?
Where does nation?
Pardon?
Where does nation fit in?
Am Yisrael as children of Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu.
Race.
Race is what we call racism. What? No, race. You're against, what was Nazism? Race. It wasn't against religion. Race. R-E. No, race. Yes.
So how could Shaul wipe out a concept?
Pardon?
How could Shaul be charged with wiping out a concept?
Very good question. Okay? How does that exist? Okay? If Shaul would have managed to do that, and the building of the Beis HaMikdash would have taken place, Mashiach would have come.
So Shaul would have wiped out the nation.
The nation who at that period of time represented the concept and fulfilled the mission which Shaul was supposed to do, he would have built the Beis HaMikdash, Mashiach would have come. No more wars, nothing. No hatred. What happened? He failed. That's what happens. Okay? That's what happens.
So at that time it was not a concept.
No, there were a concept which was manifested in a certain nation. Okay? Manifested in a certain nation. Every nation, every period in history, there is a different manifestation of this concept of anti-Semitism. Sometimes it's through religion. Sometimes it's through a nation. Okay, take in what's it called? In the period of the Dark Ages. Okay, Middle Ages, Christianity, the Inquisition, whilst Islam respected Judaism. Look in the Rambam, the period of the Rambam in Egypt. Islam recognized the greatness of Judaism. I'm not saying in other countries necessarily, but I'm saying, but who manifested this hatred of the Jewish people? Christianity. Pardon? Church. Okay? In our period, it's Islam. That means it manifests itself in many, many ways. In the 1930s and 40s, it wasn't religion, it was race. Okay? But those are the concepts. So therefore, Shaul's job, and that's why Shmuel comes and says to him, listen, you've got a chance to change history. You've got a chance now. And I'm giving you this prophecy. Pakadati, now is the time where all of Am Yisrael are living in Eretz Yisrael. They all wanted a king. All of Am Yisrael wanted a king. Okay? And you have Shaul, you've got Shmuel, everything is perfect.
and Shaul knew that the directive of a king was to wipe out.
Yeah, well, that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him. He says, now, what's the first sentence? Line number 20, look inside. Vayomer Shmuel el Shaul, Oti, mi, shalach Hashem lemoshcha lemelech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent me to anoint you as king al Amo, al Yisrael. Now, here we have two concepts, the people and the religion. My job is, okay, you are the king in what's it called? On the people, on the nation, everything. I'm behind you. I'm behind you, Shmuel says. And what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling you? Vata shma lekol divrei Hashem. Two words here, the voice and the words. I'm not making it up. These are the exact words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Shaul hears this. Something falters. Shaul doesn't do exactly. And that's why Shmuel says to him, you can't carry on as a king. Because you've missed it. I've given you a chance to change the history. And Shaul, because of who he is, his characteristics, his special nature, he doesn't have the ability to do it. And Shmuel has to go and cold-bloodedly kill the king, but it's too late. The mission has failed. Guys, please.
Sounds like Christmas.
Sorry.
The interlude.
The mission failed. And history needs to begin again. That's what happens. That is the depths of this story. And therefore, Amalek changes its face every generation, every period of history. It changes. There was one time where everything could have been finished. It didn't work. Now, let's start off with the Parsha. Now, let's go to line number 36. The Rambam says the following. Mitzvah taseh lachrim shiva amamim. You had a mitzvah to wipe out the 7 nations. Shnema achrim tachrimim. V'chol sheba liyado echad mehem v'lo harago. And if one of them comes up to you and you don't kill him, over b'lo taseh. Ukvar avad zichram. But the memory of the 7 nations, we don't know who it is. Concerning the 7 nations, this does not exist nowadays because we don't know who they are. With Amalek, the Rambam never says that. He never says Ukva Avad Zichram, and we'll see how Rav Soloveitchik's father uses the fact that the Rambam writes Ukva Avad Zichram only by the 7 nations and not by Amalek, because that is the existence of Amalek. It still exists. Now, let's read the Parsha.
Are you saying that it will never be wiped out?
Pardon?
It will never be wiped out?
Mashiach. Whatever that means. Okay? Yeah.
No, can I ask something like that? With the 5 things, what is it? Could you repeat it again? I'm sorry, I lost.
Do you think I remember? Religion, culture, race, language, and land.
Right. So, what I wonder about is killing off Amalek at that time actually eliminate that in later generations? In other words, if it was a nation, then it would eliminate. But if it's culture...
No, we spoke about that. There was a one-time period in history where we could have changed history. I'll give you another example. Okay? Another example. Okay? The Malbim, one of the great commentators on the Torah, says the following. He says that if there wouldn't have been the sin of the spies, then what would have happened? We would have gone into Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu wouldn't have sinned. He would have gone in. A whole world. That means there's certain things which the timing of them is exact. Okay? Timing is exact. But we bungle it. Because of who we are.
Too liberal.
Everybody will give his own reasons.
Where is God?
Doesn't really interest me.
I was
Doesn't
thinking
really mean
myself
to
what I'm
mean
gonna
the.
say
It
now.
doesn't mean to say I'm not giving reasons.
Where was God though? That's what I.
He leaves
I-
free
I
choice.
hear that.
Free choice.
Why?
Why? Because we're not robots. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives.
He can destroy a whole nation.
Pardon?
He can go in there and the Jews are powerless and kill them.
I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us
Free choice. He can give you-
free choice. He created this fixation. He created this box in which humans exist. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created every single one of us in a different way completely. But he didn't. Because otherwise there'd be no purpose. We are the ones with HaKadosh Baruch Hu who create history. Together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we create history. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you a chance. Just like a parent gives his child a chance. Okay? We're all like that. Sometimes you miss the goal or you miss the basket. You've heard of that before. NBA, football, soccer. You miss the game. You've lost it.
He had created Amalek.
Correct. Why? Because that there is an existence. There is what is called in the language of Rabbi Nachman of Breslav, this vacuum with which wickedness, darkness exists. Okay? And it's the job of every single one of us, individually, to overcome this darkness, overcome this vacuum, and in history, and in the whole world which exists, there also exists. And the good fights the evil. Okay? That's the way it is. Okay, Tolkien wrote that famous book. What's it called?
Harry Potter.
No, not Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, guys. The Lord of the Rings, in a different world which Tolkien created, was exactly that. Good versus evil. And that's the history. Okay? And the Torah creates for us, that's what we believe, the direction and the destination which we have to do. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave people different periods of history chances to overcome it in its most unbelievable way. But since HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us within free choice, we have the choice to do what? To control history also. That's what it is. Yeah.
You're saying at this point, the only way of defeating the concept is we have to be here?
We don't know. But that is, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us certain points time in history. Okay? For instance, at the time, I'll give you an example which let's give ourselves an example. Okay? 1948. 1948, the 5th day of Iyar. Ben Gurion, in inverted commas, had a choice. To proclaim a state, not to proclaim a state. Are we going to have a country of our own, or are we not going to have a country of our own? And what did the Jewish people choose? They can have a country of our own. That is a turning point in history. Free choice. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving it to you. You're going to take it, or you're not going to take it. That is a turning point in history. Okay? Now, some generations don't know how to take that turning point. There's a very famous statement of the Brisker Rov also at that time. Okay? He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was looking down from heaven. Are you going to take the chance or not take the chance? Are the Jewish people going to have their land or they're not going to have the land? Now, in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, Yoshua was a prophet. Ezra and Zerubbabel were prophets. They still had this direct connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 1948, nobody has this direct connection. It was given to us, and we had to take the chance of what it meant. With all its ramifications of the 7 nations trying to attack us, etc., etc. Okay, and if you look at it in meta-historical concepts, we must have been mad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, You took the choice, we'll help you. Now, Yoshua, this period of history with the Meraglim. The Meraglim had free choice. What sort of report are they going to come back with? We're going to overcome it, or we're not going to overcome it. And for all different reasons, they came back and they said, no, we won't manage it. Shaul had the choice to take his nation, wipe out the whole of Amalek. Shaul couldn't do it. The people weren't ready to cold-bloodedly kill a nation. Okay? They didn't have the kochot nefesh to do it. And because of that, okay,
So today we're talking.
I'm not talking about today. Don't put up. Everybody can use this shiur as a stepping point. I'm not going to say anything about today. Now, I'm not relating anything. I'm only relating to what I'm speaking about. All the questions have to be focused on this point.
Right.
1 minute. There's a gentleman there. Yeah.
Yes, addressing the point of there are certain moments
Yes.
you have to seize. There's nothing better than Yitzias Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu
Correct.
says, tomorrow, that's it.
Okay.
It's now or
Correct.
never.
Are you going to take the sheep or you're not going to take the sheep? Correct. Agreed.
You know, you're talking about a sort of metaphysical struggle between evil and good, which is our job to do. But actually, most of the time, we haven't had a chance to do it. We didn't fight against Christianity. We didn't fight against the Nazis. Okay, so it's not necessarily our struggle. The other thing I have a bit of a problem with Shaul. Shaul actually did kill out all the people.
He did.
Except
He left
for one
Agag and
person.
he left the animals.
And he left the animals.
Okay, so he didn't do the job. He didn't do the job. He didn't fulfill HaKadosh Baruch Hu's command in every single iota.
Right.
Right, that's
But
it. Finish.
he did kill out the nation.
Okay, but it doesn't make any difference.
He probably intended to kill later.
No, I don't know what he intended to do. I don't know what he intended to do. But in the perception of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the perception of Shmuel,
Yeah.
he failed.
Right.
That's what Shmuel comes and tells him. You didn't fulfill. Because when HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you something, it's either you do it 100% or you failed.
But he did do it in terms of the metaphysical
It
struggle you're talking about.
No, he didn't. Because that's why Haman is called Agagi. Why is he called Agagi? Because the period with what's it called, according to Chazal,
That's
that,
right.
so I'm saying, so our perception, or in the metaphysical analysis, Shaul failed. Okay? He failed. Okay? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you to do something, Avraham Avinu, take the Akedah. Okay? Why did Avraham Avinu fulfill the Akedah? Because he put the knife on Yitzchak's neck. With all its ramifications. Shaul didn't. Okay? And that's exactly what I mean. Free choice, not free choice. Right. Any other questions? So now let's start off the parsha. Okay, this is the introduction, guys. This is the introduction. Let's start off. Vayavo Amalek, line number 42. Vayavo Amalek, Vayilachem im Yisrael birfidim. And they come and fight. Now the Torah doesn't give us an introduction why Amalek fights. What is the reason? What is it? The Torah doesn't speak about that here in Shmot. And then he says, Vayomer Moshe Yoshua b'chalanu anashim v'tzei v'ilachem b'Amalek machar anuchi nitzav al rosh hagivah u'matei Elokim biyadi, etc., etc., etc. Let's just go. Okay. And we know the whole story of Moshe Rabbeinu lifting up his hand. The story doesn't make any difference to us. But what's written at the end? Line number 51. Vayachalosh Yoshua et Amalek ve'et amo lefi charev. Yoshua manages to overcome Amalek and his nation. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Tov zot zikaron b'sefer. Write it as a memory in the book. Which book? Doesn't say. Well, we don't know. This is before Matan Torah. V'sim bo znei Yoshua. Two things are necessary here, guys. Two things. One is written and one is oral. Take note. Tov zot zikaron b'sefer. Write it down. And what else? You have to teach it. It's not good enough just to write something. It's got to be orally transferred. Feelings have to be orally transferred. You can't write down feelings. Okay? Feelings, environment, emotions often can't be written down. And therefore, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, two things have to be done here. One is, it's got to be historical fact. The second one is, it's got to be part and parcel of your heart. V'sim b'oznei Yoshua. Put it in Yoshua's ears. What is it going to do? What are the two things? What are they? Ki machom emche zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim. I'm going to wipe them out. Somewhere, somehow, this cannot carry on. Machom emche. Vayiven Moshe vayizbech vayikra shmo Hashem nisi. Vayomer, and he said, Ki yad al kes yad. I am making a shvuah. Milchama Lashem ba'Amalek midor dor. There's going to be this eternal war of HaKadosh Baruch Hu against Amalek. Now, that's the story in Sefer Shemot. Sefer Shemot speaks about the godly perception. How God perceives Amalek. That is Sefer Shemot. Sefer Shemot speaks how HaKadosh Baruch Hu interferes in the world. And we're going to learn about that later. And therefore, it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's perception. God's giving over what He's going to do in the history. Now let's read Sefer Dvorim. 1 minute before questions, let's just read Sefer Dvorim. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Now it's talking about you. What did Amalek do to you? Not the metaphysical battle. But what did Amalek do to you? This is something completely different. Sefer Dvorim speaks about what? Amalek and the Jewish people. Asher kalcha baderech, what happened to you? Vayezanev b'cha kol hanechshalim acharecha. How did he do it? He did behind. He attacked civilians. He took all the weak people, grandparents, children, etc., etc. That's what he did. He attacked from behind. He didn't fight soldiers. It wasn't a military battle. This was what? Civilians, the weak people. That's what he did first. Vayezanev b'cha kol hanechshalim acharecha. Va'ata, and you, ayef v'yagea. You were exhausted. You were in the desert. You had man, you had water, you had the bare necessities of life, as what's it called, the Jungle Book writes. The bare necessities of life. That's all you had. V'lo yareh Elokim, and Amalek couldn't care less what happened. V'lo yareh Elokim, according to Rashi, is Amalek didn't have the fear of God. V'haya, v'aniach Hashem Elokecha lecha. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you the ability, and you will rest from all your enemies around you, Ba'aretz asher Hashem Elokecha noten lecha le'ishta timche et zecher Amalek. You've got the job of wiping it out. So we have two battles here. We have this metaphysical battle, which Sefer Shemot speaks about, and the reality, the world of reality. Sefer Dvorim, Moshe Rabbeinu speaks to whom? To us. He tells us. Now, this is 40 years later. He's repeating history. Sefer Dvorim are the speeches of Moshe Rabbeinu 40 years later to the generation who didn't know the Battle of Amalek, who didn't experience it. So now Moshe Rabbeinu is repeating history, is translating what took place there in his language. And this Moshe Rabbeinu sees as what Amalek did. Amalek attacked civilians. Amalek did not come face to face with us. He wouldn't dare. So therefore we have two narratives of the story of Amalek. We have the narrative of Sefer Shemot, and we have the narrative of Sefer Dvorim. Sefer Shemot speaks about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the whole of Sefer Shemot speaks about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu appears in nature. Yitzias Mitzrayim, Matan Torah, Mishkan. It's all about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sefer Dvarim speaks about downstairs, not about upstairs. Now, why is the problem of Amalek so severe? The next year, we're going to go into that. Okay? Otherwise, we'll have to finish at 1:30, which I don't think anybody wants to. Now, questions. Right, questions. Yeah.
I like the idea that Amalek isn't just the people, but it's the language, it's the culture,
Yes.
it's this. Maybe that explains why we also say Zecha.
It's the memory.
Not just killing the people.
People is the memory.
It's
Correct.
the
We'll speak about that.
The culture,
Right.
the language.
Yeah.
etc. Maybe that's why we've continued to have problems and problems and problems.
That's your explanation. Next. I'm not speaking about today. It doesn't interest me. We're learning.
Why not?
Because everybody's got the same, everybody has their own personal opinion of what's going on today. Okay? I'm not better than you, Phil. And that's why I'm not speaking about it. Yeah.
It says Yeshua. Does that mean he failed?
Pardon? No. We'll speak about that. Okay? Next question.
I think it's on the same point. Yeshua is given to be a nation to get rid of Amalek by reading it correctly. So
Pardon?
he also didn't do it.
Well, we'll see. We did do it. He did do it. Okay? But he didn't go and attack their land. Remember that Amalek here leaves their country, leaves their children and their wives, and they attack. This is the men attacking. Shaul has to go to their place and attack.
So in other words, the families were left behind.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
It's just the military.
Yeah. Next question. Right, yeah. Yes.
I'm just saying that if we want to do all these things, we have to follow what you're saying.
Okay, listen. That's I'm not going into that.
I'm trying to think of how we can approach the future.
First of all, let's see what happened in the past. And that we'll do next year. Please, guys, give it to Daniela to pick it up. And we'll carry on next year.
Brilliant. I didn't want to. We grew up in the 50s and